This is currently run through Snapshot, which has major DAOs like PancakeSwap and Uniswap all using this system. If you actually log in and you buy tokens, if you bought tokens for, say, some cake, you can participate in PancakeSwap's DAO. So anybody who actually owns FTDAO, they can come in here, log in with their address, and it allows them to actually vote. So let me go through some of the votes we've got set up. We were obviously looking at the one in nuclear power. So the original vote, then we came in, would be, as the world's biggest polluter, should China pay climate reparations? So this is the type of votes that we're putting out there. So the thing is, you can't historically go back and vote in a vote that's already been cast. The other thing to understand about a DAO is you have to have the tokens in your wallet and registered with the DAO prior to the vote being launched. Therefore, if you went out and bought FTDAO tokens just now and logged into the system to vote, you wouldn't be able to vote until the next proposal came up. So again, if you look at our last vote, before we're speaking about nuclear energy, is, should FTDAO list on the ASBIT crypto exchange? So this gives some information about FTDAO itself, information about the token, and more really about the ASBIT exchange. And essentially, it was set up in 2018 with the major investor behind the exchange, Roger Ver, that a lot of people know as the person who set up Bitcoin.com and has the pseudonym Bitcoin Jesus in the space. So that's it's about the 35th biggest exchange out there. So that vote is now closed. If you come back and look at the one, this one today that's been put out there, a little bit of a typo in there, but you get the gist of everything that's coming out. So will nuclear power be a key future low carbon energy source of the world? Nuclear power now creates about 10% of the electrical energy generation in the world right now. It's increasing all the time. Ultimately, it talks a little bit about how nuclear power is actually changing and what it's been like now compared to what it was essentially, say, 40 years ago, when all the big reactors were sort of set up in the US, UK, and across Europe. Nowadays, the types of reactors that are getting set up are a lot smaller, and they use a lot less nuclear waste in them, and they still generate huge amounts of energy. And you've got countries like China and Russia focusing heavily on nuclear energy. And then a country like France is obviously leading the world for nuclear power. So just to go over a little bit about it is, the role of nuclear power in future energy landscape is subject going to an ongoing debate and depends on various factors, including technological advancements, public perception, regulatory frameworks, and global energy policies. So in order to understand nuclear power, it has a high energy density, meaning a small amount of nuclear fuel can produce a large amount of energy, contributing to energy security. So this is why there's countries like Iran wanting to have nuclear power. Obviously, people think it's because they want to get nuclear weapons, but ultimately they're wanting nuclear power to have essentially energy security. So they're not relying on any third party. And I think that's why a lot of countries are going down the nuclear route, whereby you don't have to be based on the oil price. You don't have to require the importing of coal that's coming in to your country, especially for industrial power. The nuclear power plants can provide continuous, reliable baseload power, which is essential for maintaining a stable electricity supply. Ongoing research into advanced reactor designs, such as small modular reactors and Generation 4 reactors, aim to address some of the challenges associated with traditional nuclear power, including safety, cost, and waste management. The public perception of nuclear power varies, and concerns about safety, nuclear accidents, and radioactive waste disposal can influence the future development of nuclear energy, especially with accidents such as Chernobyl and Fukushima. Have raised significant safety concerns, contributing to the public apprehension of nuclear power. The question to the DAO is, are you for, against nuclear power, as a key energy source in the developing world. Now, this is actually on chain. So if you actually look the URL, you'll come, you see it's a fund token DAO ETH proposal. And then you've got the option to for, against, or abstain, and you click your vote. And each one actually counts as one vote. So no matter how many FTDAOs you've got, it all counts towards one vote. And so I've just done a quick demo of how the DAO voting system works. India now is, on its way to becoming potentially by 2050 the biggest economy in the world. That's what they're talking about. There's been a huge intake of coal and oil in order to keep up with this industrial revolution that's happening in the country. What's your perspective on nuclear power, and what's India's perspective on nuclear power right now?
Okay. So on one hand, nuclear power offers significant advantage, like which include its capacity to generate large amount of electricity, like without greenhouse gas emissions. So that is one of the very good point. And its high energy density. Okay, so its ability to provide reliable base load power. So it is that, like with a 10 gram of nuclear material, you can put electricity for one village for 10 years. That is possible with nuclear energy. Moreover, like ongoing advantage in nuclear technologies like such as small modular reactors and generation 4 reactors. So these are the places where actually hold promises for addressing safety, cost and waste management concerns and associated with traditional nuclear power. So one of the major thing is that to have a safety wastage of nuclear things, because it have radioactive waves, so that can affect in medical ways. So this generation 4 reactors, these small modular reactors will eventually help to facilitate and use more nuclear power in coming days. However, like it's essential to acknowledge the persistence challenges and uncertainties surrounding nuclear energies, particularly like regarding safeties, public perceptions and regulatory frameworks. Even like Chernobyl, uh, Fumoski disaster have, like there's a huge disaster out there that people are very feared about. But I feel the future of energy will be nuclear energy, because as they are not producing greenhouse gases and they are not depleting ozone zones and layers as well. So my take is that I am very positive and high on nuclear energy, because if we can properly facilitate the wastage, then boom, it's a win-win situation for us, because this is not making our earth warmer. So that doesn't make that uh, glaciers will melt and we'll have more water levels, so more countries will sink. So it will not happen if you can properly use nuclear energy. So it's a very positive upside for using nuclear energy.
Yeah, I'm not 100% believer of the whether the people are going to sink as well, Artbin. That's one of the ones that the media like to say. But generally, rich people like to live next to the coast, and if they thought their house was going to be their $50 million mansion out in California is going to be sinking into the sea, then they wouldn't be building a house in the first place. But I get it, and I think the points you're making are really valid. I think it's the same one as me in terms of nuclear power. I think in going forward, there's going to be an energy mix. From an individual perspective, we're going to start switching more to renewable energy, whether it's solar panels, whether it's small wind turbines. But for industrial power, you're 100 years away before essentially renewable energy is going to be dealing with that type of thing. And by that point, we're going to be using nuclear so much anyway. Natural gas, we're using so much more as well. We're switching to that. It's whether something like coal will eventually die out. It won't die out. We'll never run out of it. But ultimately, it's we'll maybe stop using it as an energy source. Same as the sort of thicker crude oil. But natural gas, nuclear power, and renewable energy, and it's different forms as well. The hydro part of it is we've been using a lot anyway, right, with big hydro dams. But it's just how this sort of off-grid model will work in the next years going forward for individuals being able to generate their own electricity, which would be even better, because then we're not relying on the government or these big companies. Yeah. But the thing about nuclear power is, if it's not windy and it's not sunny, nuclear power runs anyway, everybody. You know what I mean? It never switches off type thing. So I think it's a big one on it as well.